Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Unfitted, and today we're talking Godhonest. Now, in this podcast, there's 3 rules. Lies are omission, the silence is broken, and the truth is spoken. Before we begin the podcast, we're going to be reading a Bible verse. Today, we'll be reading in chapter 3 of Colossians, starting at verse 18. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as it is fit in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing God. And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord, and not unto men, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Christ. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he hath done, and there is no respect of persons. Now, with today's topic, we're going to be talking about courtship and modern relationships. These two things are very different. For me, it's really like, I don't believe in relationships. I know how that can sound. It can definitely sound as if like I'm depressed or I've been through a lot of stuff, which I have, but that's not the reason. The reason is because of this little story, this confirmation that I have. This took place about maybe a week or two ago. So it was Sunday, and me and my parents, we were going to church, but the church decided that they were going to go ahead and eat at Golden Corral. They had planned this beforehand. So I fast on Sundays for the entire day. But when I got there, and we were about to leave after everyone, had eaten, we got into the car, and I don't even know where this came from, but my mom started talking about how Golden Corral would be a nice place to take my date on. If I ever had a date, it'll be a nice place to take her. And in my head, I'm like, no, because, okay, when it comes down to like taking a girl out on a date, and there's 3 things, and I learned this from Young Dawn Reborn. So the first date is mainly supposed to be like talking. You're just supposed to get to know each other. So you're not really going to be eating like that. And with this in mind, I'm thinking it'll be nice to, kind of grab a drink, if anything, a cup of coffee or something. I don't really like coffee like that. I like coffee, but just not like that, Like it's okay to have every once in a while. So I'm thinking, if I was to go on a first date, I'll take her to Tropical Smoothie. Love that cafe. It's a nice place to get a small bite to eat, but it's also a good place for lunch as well. So if I was to go on a date, it would definitely not be Golden Corral, because you're supposed to be, getting to know the person and talking to them, not just eating. Eating can, cause silence, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So she's talking about how when I'm taking my, girl out on a date, to not get into the concept of modern relationships, because in the Bible, modern day relationships, or as we put it, girlfriend and boyfriend, doesn't exist. And instead, you should be courting. But that doesn't mean that just because you don't have that title of girlfriend and boyfriend, that doesn't mean that you should just talk to a whole bunch of women. Like stick with that one person that you're courting. Don't go and talk to a whole bunch of other chicks. And for me, that was sort of a confirmation, because a couple years back, I was looking at this one person on Instagram, and she was talking about how she's not committed to anyone, even in the concept of boyfriend and girlfriend. She's not committed because God never said, oh, have a boyfriend and girlfriend. It said have a husband and wife. So with that in mind, I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good confirmation right there. And now I'm actually really willing to apply this. But when you actually delve deeper into the concept of courtship and modern day relationships, there is a lot that really goes on. Dating has a whole bunch of things. First and foremost, dating, the definition of dating is actually going on dates to get to know someone, but there's no real intentions behind it. Or at least it's sort of like, we'll see where this leads to. But the difference is when you start going a little bit deeper into it. Dating doesn't always lead to marriage. And biblically speaking, marriage is what God intended. This is why I think courting is the best route. Because if you say, oh, we're dating, a person will hear modern day dating. And they'll be like, oh, that's just a little boyfriend and girlfriend you got going on there, with no real intention of marriage. So as with courting, people might not know what it means, but then you can tell them that, oh, we're romantically involved and we're seeing if we're compatible to eventually get married. So the biggest thing with the concept of dating is that with modern day dating, usually is a lot of sexual intimacy that ends up happening, or at least when it comes to the modern day people. But there's another part with dating. It's also with the fact that parents aren't usually involved with it, and you might wonder, why should parents be involved in the first place? It's because godly parents, or parents that are just good parents in general, will want to oversee that this person is fit for my son or my daughter. And them having experience, if they're married, or even if they've been married before and something happened, they still have that experience to kind of get a grasp on this person and realize that, this person might not be good for you. But they'll go about it in a godly manner or just a good route. This is why I think that parents should actually be involved. But with dating, that's usually not the case. As with courting, usually you actually need the blessing of said parent, which is why it's good to actually have that parent there sort of watching the relationship develop and evolve. I'm not saying they have to be there at every turn, but it's good to have them on standby in case something happens. So with courting, they are involved, which I believe they should be. Now, there's a lot more that we can go ahead and get into about it, but I really want to talk about why, in my mind, this courting is the best option. Courting is getting romantically involved with someone, and with the intention of getting married. That's the end goal. Dating, on the other hand, is just getting to know someone, and you might potentially get with that person, but there can also be a lot of sexual intimacy with eventually getting into a relationship, which is really where I want to get to. Relationship and courtship. Dating and courting are kind of similar. You're getting to know the person, but with dating, it's like there's no real deep emotions involved, and it's not that serious. As with courting, they're very serious about it, and they do have an end goal in mind. As with dating, you're not really like that. So when you get it down to the relationship and courtship, this is where things really can get haywired. For relationships, you have boyfriend and girlfriend. And the main problem in the modern day society with this is that when you get to the state of boyfriend and girlfriend, you're on this honeymoon phase, this high, like it's freaking heroin. And you get all bubbly and lovey with each other. And the problem here is when, with modern day people, it gets to a state where it's more physical. It's more of a physical attraction rather than a getting to know you attraction. I want to know more about you, but instead, with these modern day people, it's more of a, I want to get to know your body. Furthermore, you become so emotional on this high of honeymoon phase that you become blinded in a mist. And in this mist, all you can see are the good qualities of this person. You're not really getting to know that person. You might, kind of get to know them. And I'm telling you that this honeymoon phase lasts for at least a month to 3 months. And eventually, after the 3 months, you start to actually see the flaws of this character. If you didn't already see it already, you're blinded. And I want to prevent that blindness, at least for me. So with this whole honeymoon phase, the physical intimacy, the sexual intimacy at that, it can lead to temptation. And we all know, godly people, that in this sort of temptation that you're in, you become blinded. And a lot of problems can arise. And God is all about making sure you don't have to deal with these problems. That's why I'm not saying that relationships are bad. And I'm not even going to go as far as to say it's ungodly, but I am going to say that I believe that the modern day relationship standards, or how it's walked, is unwise. To even call it dating is submitting yourselves to the modern day society. So this physical intimacy gets to a state where it's temptation, and temptation leads to other problems. The problems lead to potential baby daddies and, ungodly situations, or intercourse before marriage, which God already forbidden that. But as I said, having intercourse before marriage, I believe that intercourse is very sacred. Not only is basically what my mom said, not only was it a concept that basically was a contract between you, the partner, and God, which is why I believe that, the whole blood was kind of like the signature that this person belongs to me, and we are now connected to each other, not only on a flesh level, but on a spiritual level, allowing God to come into this, which is why usually you have all these crazy baby mamas and these crazy baby daddies, because they still feel tied to that person. They still feel that connection, whether they know it or not. They still feel that, which is why you need to be careful with this physical intimacy, because even if it's not intercourse, we all still remember that first kiss we had. We all still remember that first person who could touch us in this way and make us get goosebumps and make us feel like no one else has ever felt before. All these experiences you may end up comparing later on to this other person, and like, he doesn't do it like this person did. He doesn't touch me in that way that this person touched me. He doesn't make me feel like the other person made me feel. Make me feel like that person had given me butterflies and all this. And then you kind of hate that previous person because now you're with this person and they just don't do it like that other person. That comparison can lead to a big downfall, which is why so many sexual intimate relationships don't end up lasting when you get to that state of marriage, because low-key, you're comparing. You might even feel like this person's the perfect match for me, but he just doesn't do it like that person does. She just doesn't do it like she did. And that can be a problem. That's what I'm saying, like, courtship is probably a lot better because it just eliminates the sexual intimacy. When you're in a courtship, sexual intimacy is like forbidden. It's an abstinence. Allowing you to really talk to that person, allowing you to really get to know that person. You're not really in a honeymoon phase. You might be there. You might sort of be there, but it's not as strong as before because you're disciplining yourself, which a lot of modern day people hate. They hate that discipline. But with that abstinence, you're actually getting to know the person personally. You're understanding their values. You're understanding their goals. You want to know what they want to do with their life. And you don't have to deal with all the crazy nonsense of this sugar rush of love. You do love the person. I'm not saying that you don't. You do love the person, but you're more interested in getting to know the person on a romantic level rather than wanting to touch them every second that you get. The emotions when it comes to the modern day relationships, along with the physical intimacy, and I was talking about that honeymoon phase, that emotional aspect of it becomes a really big problem. When you really get to that whole dating situation, the relationship, that honeymoon phase that goes up, and then you get to that second phase, which is where you start to see the flaws, that fog of blindness really comes into play. This is where usually you start seeing the flaws and whatnot, and then you get into the arguments, and you're just now kind of really understanding who this person is, and now you're in this emotional turmoil trying to make it work. And I would say a lot of people wish that they knew these things about this person before they even started dating, which is why which could have just been prevented had you just waited a bit longer. It's the emotional distress of it. You're romantically involved with this person, really on a big level, but you would never have to have these arguments to begin with had you just been in a courtship. Without all that physical intimacy, now we're really playing into the emotional intimacy of it, and that can cause things like depression, these arguments, the stress of sadness. Limiting the physical intimacy really makes you become more interested in really learning this person. You're really getting to know them, really getting to understand them. You're not so inclined to touch them. You might be tempted to, but if you discipline yourself enough, you would never have to. You would never have to really go as far as to do it, because you'll never get to that borderline of temptation of, making out, the intercourse, the sexual touch, all those things. You'll never get to that point because you have that discipline in you to abstain yourself from it. That respect. I don't want to make you feel like I'm the only one who can touch you like this, because we're not even married. You'll never get to that point. That's why I'm really loving the aspect of this courtship, because it can also prevent the emotional distress after it fails. I mean, sure, with the courtship, it might fail, but the chances of it is significantly dropped. Why is it that I say this? It's because when you're courting, everything is very serious. You understand the person's values. You understand where they want to go with their life. You understand how they imagine marriage to be, how many kids they want, the roles that they want played in the house, and all those other things. When you're taking this person out on dates, this is why the first date I find this is why I find it to be important, because I'm gonna use my example. I'm gonna take my woman out to Tropical Smoothie. I just love the place. And, we're gonna get a smoothie. We might get a quick bite to eat, something small, just to hold us. And then I might just take her out somewhere nice. Not nowhere too nice, because I don't want it to cost money. So like taking her out to a park, a little garden or something like that. And, we're just walking. We're walking and talking. And this is where we can get all the serious stuff out the way, like our values and everything like that. How we imagine things to be, what I want to do in my future, etc., etc. By that first date, chances are, if the person is fit for me or we have a really good connection, I'll be able to take her out on a second date. But if we're just butting heads on everything, I'm gonna just drop her on the first date. I'll just be like, this ain't gonna work. We have too many oppositions. We have too many opposing ideals. Therefore, this one will not work. But if we do have a good connection, that second date is going to work. On that second date, I might just take her out to like thinking of Cheddar's or the Bonefish Grill, something like that. In this way, we can just talk a bit more, get to know each other's hobbies, and who we're really like as a person. And that will also be a pretty good date as well. Chances are, it probably won't flunk as much. The chances are still there, but it won't. The chances of it dropping is significantly lower. We're taking it slow, but we're making it very serious as well. We're not really in this aspect of, oh, I love you, or I'm already in love with you like that. The intention is there. I want to, because you're the only one I'm talking to. With the modern day dating, people usually have like, they can pull out a phone and have like 3 or 4 people already backed up, ready to go. But I'm serious about you, because I look at you and I think, dang, you could be my wife one day. It's already very serious, as opposed with dating, it's not that serious. You don't have that intention of it, but I do. That's why I like it. That's why I like the idea of courting, because I'm serious about you. But I'm willing to drop you if our ideals just don't align, if the connection just isn't there. And you know a good way to tell if you really have a good connection with someone? By that third date, there won't be much to talk about. So I'm gonna probably be taking her out to Cheesecake Factory, because I've never been there. That, or I'll take her out to a restaurant that serves like wine and cheese, just because that's something I really want to do. So by that third date, I'm thinking, we're going to have some things to talk about, but probably not as much. And by this date, I really want to know, do we have that connection? Me and my goddad was talking on a similar level like this, when you really know you have a good connection with someone. In this aspect, or in this situation, this small activity of just, eating, talking a bit, you might get to a point where you don't have really anything to talk about. Now you're just sitting in silence. And me and my goddad was talking about, if you're sitting in silence with someone and you find that that silence is rather awkward, chances are you don't have a really good connection with that person. Me and my goddad tend to, we'll sometimes sit in the car, driving or whatever. And we'll just sit in silence. No music playing, just sitting there. Why is it that you can sit in silence with someone and it not be awkward? It's because a lot of us tend to get to a place with a person where we're just very, very, very comfortable with them, to where just being with the person is good enough. I love you enough to just be able to sit with you and not talk about anything, but to just enjoy your existence and the existence of your presence being close to me. Me and my ex sort of had this connection. We could just be on the phone, and I think she used to just overthink a little bit too much at times. So where she'll be like, oh, if you want to hang out, we can just talk later, that's fine. And each time I would tell her, no. My love, I enjoy your presence. I enjoy you just sitting here with me. The fact that you're just here with me on the phone while I'm just doing my thing, I love it. I enjoy your presence. It was never awkward for me because I loved her enough to just be there with her and not talk about anything at all. She could just be on her computer playing Roblox. Me, I'm whooping people in Apex. It was just, and to me, I'm having a good time. I got my girl right here, my video games, and probably some pizza. That is a good day for me. To just chill with my woman, whether she's in my presence physically or just through the phone. And I just have my video game. That or I'm watching anime. If you can just sit with someone in their presence and not be worried about talking every 5 seconds, you know you have a good relationship with that person. To me, that's a good courtship. Nothing sexual. You're still kind of getting to know that person. But by that third date, for me, I realized that I have a good connection with this person because it's not awkward for me to just sit here in silence. I could just be sitting here admiring your beauty, admiring your existence, that God has just brought us here together. Would I say that modern day relationships don't have this aspect? No. Why? Because I already said it's possible for a relationship to evolve, a modern day relationship to evolve into marriage. I've seen it firsthand. It's just, I find that the percentage of it being possible is dropped significantly. If anything, I would love to normalize the unfitted concept of the ancient tradition of courting and courtship, because we lack the discipline to abstain from the sexual acts or sexual intimacy, which can lead to all the modern day problems that we have contracted, if that's the word. The STDs, STIs, the parents with no mothers or fathers, crazy baby daddies and baby mamas. If you could just not even have to worry about having a absent baby daddy or baby mama, I'm telling you, things would just be a lot better. Less problems would arise. We won't have these crazy abusive parents who feel like I had a child when I didn't even want to have a child. Why? Because you lack the discipline to not even have sexual intimacy with someone who, A, you wasn't willing to marry, or B, someone who you just didn't love. Someone you didn't love at all. You didn't have the discipline to just abstain from it. Instead, you was much too worried about getting your rocks off and dipping. I mean, sure, they would say, just use a condom or something like that, but to be honest, just don't do it. People want to argue that have the concept of, there's health benefits, but honestly, it's just life draining. Just draining your energy doing it. So I find that courtship is just a better option. It eliminates the possibilities altogether. Instead of lowering the risk, just eliminate it. Discipline is hard. That's why modern people are so sensitive, because they lack discipline. They lack the courage to just do the things that are hard. Me, I love doing it. But why? Because it's like becoming a bodybuilder. Become a lot more firm. Become a lot more disciplined. You have a stronger mindset to do the things that no one else is willing to do, even though you don't want to do it. Y'all don't like that though. Even you so-called Christians, you don't like it. You don't like to discipline yourself, to devote yourself to the Lord. You're sensitive. I think I made my point. With that, Thank you for tuning in to this episode. I apologize for not being able to upload this yesterday. I had some difficulties with the volume or the audio. It was the audio. I knew it was a poor video. And with that, I was just like, no, I don't want to upload this garbage if it's just going to sound terrible. So that's why I decided that I would just re-record this and I'll upload it later, or I'll upload it today. I know I said that my podcast episodes are on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Honestly, I actually meant it would just be on Tuesdays or Saturdays, depending on the situation. So if I'm not able to upload on Tuesday, chances are it will be uploaded by Saturday. Apologize for that misunderstanding that I portrayed. But thank you for tuning in today, and I will see you next Tuesday or Saturday. Hey, hope you enjoyed the podcast episode. If you did, make sure you leave a like, follow the podcast, and let us know your thoughts down in the comments as well. If you want more access to yours truly, I have a Linktree that's right there in the bio. If you want to go ahead and contact me, make sure you email unfittedgodhonesty@gmail.com. And if you want to support us, the Cash App should be in the Linktree as well. I think that's all the time I have right there. So make sure you follow God and stay unfitted.